Hello. Thank you so much for tuning back into my channel. I am Meredith, and I am an intuitive and an astrologer based out of now the mountains in North Carolina. And I had a thought, or like maybe a trail that I wanted to follow. And I one of my passions within the realm of astrology is something called generational astrology. So the generational planets are Uranus, Neptune, and Pluto. And and Saturn can be kind of generational, the North Node, just planets with slightly slower orbits, and their effect on society and populations and things like that. So I wanted to deliver a very specific message to the people that were born anywhere between 1983, 84, and 1995. This is the Pluto and Scorpio generation. So Pluto takes a really long time, obviously, to orbit. It takes about, I guess, 244 to 250 years to come right back to where, it takes that long for it to orbit. Sorry, I haven't been feeling well the last few days, so I have a lot of air in my brain. But I did want to share that the Pluto and Scorpio generation. So think about either yourself or the people that you know in between 84, 83, 84, and 95. And there are calculators all across the internet if you want to find out your Pluto sign. You don't even need to go to a chart generator, and maybe I'll link what I used to find the exact dates below. But I wanted to come talk about like the implications of Pluto and Scorpio as a generation, what I think that it means. In evolutionary astrology, Pluto is looked upon as the planet of transformation, the planet of transmutation, alchemy, spiritual growth, spiritual progress, things of that nature, right? So in order to progress spiritually through the lens of Pluto, we have to descend into the underworld and we have to see what's there. Pluto is the planet of death. Pluto is the planet of, in my opinion, crises and trauma. And it's like the strength that we use to have that hero's journey and to overcome and to transmute and to transform. And, not all things that are dark, are necessarily bad. And I would argue that a lot of the struggles that I've had, though they've been extremely painful, were like somehow contributing to my development as a person. I'm also an extremely plutonic person. I personally have a lot of planets in my 8th house. So for me, I deal well with Plutonian things. Like I'm good in a crisis. I might be a little bit like scattered, not in a crisis, but once it's crisis mode, I'm like, okay, cool, let's go. Pluto can have to do with sometimes like, soul bonding, or like can have a relational component to it. And it really does truly have to do with the descent of the soul to the underworld where I perceive we are now. So that we can, find our way back. And it like, we watch like as our planet goes through these cycles and seasons, though the seasons are becoming a little bit erratic now, but like, sort of that transition from, summer to fall to winter to spring, like, and kind of the life and death cycles that, that type of thing brings. If you look at the trees in the winter, all of the the leaves fell. So these are I'm just giving examples, I guess, of like a type of alchemical process that has to do with Pluto. Pluto encourages always shedding layers and layers and layers, and then, eventually like building yourself new, like growing new limbs and things like that. So I'm obviously really interested in this planet. I think that there's a lot of really interesting evolutionary psychology, but it's fascinating to me because I know a lot of people that were born. I mean, that's my generation. I was born in 1991. So I know that a lot of people that were born during that time have, in my opinion, and this is just my observation, a lot of mental health issues. So Pluto in Scorpio is like not easy. Like even though Pluto might be at home in Scorpio, Pluto is the modern planetary ruler of the sign of Scorpio. But it just like creates more chaos and more tension. It's very strong. It's like a strong Pluto where there's a huge task. And honestly, I feel like personally, and this is just my opinion, that Pluto in Scorpio has one of the hardest jobs, assuming that, generations have jobs. I believe personally that especially the Pluto in Scorpio, Saturn in Aquarius age range has been specifically targeted. So that's like 1990, I believe, until 1993 or 94. And please correct me if I'm wrong. I'm doing this very like off the cuff, but if you have Saturn in Aquarius and Pluto in Scorpio, then number one, you're going through your Saturn return right now. And then number two, the whole Pluto in Scorpio date. So like 1983, 84, because it did retrograde back into Libra, I believe in 83 and then into 84. But throughout that whole time range until 95, I think that we have like a choice to transmute a lot of ancestral, karmic, yucky shit. And I think that that's why a lot of people my age and in my age range have had significant problems with phobias, fears, mental health challenges, because all of that inherited darkness, in my opinion, and this is just my opinion, comes through that Pluto and Scorpio person. So they can choose to either transmute that shit or, they can go on the path of whatever, like destruction or escapism. And all of that depends very much on how the person interacts with Pluto and what their own natural proclivities are. Like maybe if somebody has like a really earth-based chart, they just ignore it, ignoring the darkness and, oh, it'll go away if I don't look at it. And, or if someone like me who, I have like an 8th house stellium and I have Jupiter in my 8th house with a square to Pluto in the 11th in Scorpio. So I'm like eating all of the transformation that I could possibly get, and I think that with the South Node in Scorpio so it's been there since January 18th until, and it will be there until July 18th of 2023. So I've noticed that in my own chart, I have this transit coming up of the South Node orbiting right over my Pluto. And I'm watching that and I'm like, shit, a little bit. Not, I know like on some level we create our reality and whatever, but like we're still under these cosmos as far as I'm concerned. So, you can try to kind of like differentiate yourself from it, or you can try to like ostracize yourself from it. But at the end of the day, we're under it. And, I don't know. I've given that a lot of thought. And anyway, so what this can look like, I feel like in the highest potential, is some kind of release, like a natural letting go. Though Pluto is traumatic and Pluto is hard, and so I feel that on some level, as a generation, like we're going to have to, in the next year and a half or like year, I guess, coming up, we're going to have to really do our best to like heal a lot of that internal stuff. We're going to have to, I believe, and this is just my opinion, that we're going to have to make a greater peace with death as a sort of like shamanic experience, when you cross the veil. And of course, it depends on, what house this is in for you. If you are a millennial, I just think our generation has had the hardest time. And that's why, not the hardest, I'm sure that every person and everybody has their own experience, but that astrology of Pluto and Scorpio is very hard. Oh no, Casanova, no. He's on my little grow table. and I do not want him to be over there. Anyway, so I just wanted to come share that, that if you have your Pluto in Scorpio, then, this is kind of like a evolutionary leap in a sense where we have to transcend a lot of things. I don't think everybody in this generation obviously is going to do that, but I think that there's like a choice maybe to make some type of leap beyond the fear of the flesh, beyond the sensations of this body, like to get into something deeper, maybe some gnosis, or because for me, the reason that I've been able to transmute all that I've been through is specifically like spirituality and like kind of finding my own like practices and rhythms within that and finding God, and whatever that means for me. I mean, it doesn't have to mean the same thing for me as it does for you, but I have like gone through a lot, and it's turned me in a direction that has me in relationship to the Godhead and my spirit, and the elemental spirits that are out here by the river, and just things like that, right? I have a relationship to the universe and the cosmos and nature, and that's something that I would not have had if it were not for like my own Plutonian story of going through stuff that I really frankly should not have to go through, to advance my soul's evolution, right? So just wanted to share that. And if you have like Pluto and Scorpio, then we're going to make it through this. If you've already been through this transit, because right now I believe the north and south nodes are at 22 and 23 degrees. If you've already been through this transit, let me know. If you are, I just lost my train of thought. If you are like on the other side of this a little bit, and I would love to know your experience of what's happened for you. Thank you so much for putting up with the pauses and things like that. I haven't made content in a little while because it's like, it's crazy how I came out here and I moved into this cabin, and I think that like being in a big city my whole life, and now being here in this like studio cabin off the river in the mountains where there's like a mountain on that side and a river on that side, I have been, I guess, in survival mode, which is very common for Pluto and Scorpio generation, actually. And so I feel like I've been able to kind of sink into some necessary rest as Neptune came on top of my moon recently. So I just, haven't really been creating content because I've been sleeping, and then I got a little sick, and, so I've been like getting over that. And yeah, so I just wanted to share that about the South Node transiting Pluto and what I believe that entails for specific millennials. And yeah, let me know your thoughts in the comments. All right, thank you. Bye.